All right, so this is part 3. We're going to go into the first edition. It starts with this picture of the first edition monster manual here and compare how it looks. Yeah, I thought that was a fine picture, but a lot of people didn't like that picture for some reason. It was later replaced with this picture, which is a good picture, but this one shows a bunch of different monsters. Anyway. Yeah, so here's a picture of the stone giant and different books. So we've got this nice double page spread of the picture that I wanted this book for. And if you compare the quality, doesn't look much better than the original, but you see more of the picture. And there was a poster in the goodies, but the poster's smaller than this 2-page layout. I'd hate to carve up this beautiful book just so I could hang this on the wall. But anyway. Let's show you the back here. See? You can see more of their legs there. So. Yeah, so there's some advertisements for TSR. And some of the early module covers. But I wanted to zoom in on this picture in particular. Okay, so you see some creatures fighting troglodytes, some people fighting troglodytes. And you can tell who the wizard is and who the fighter is. And then there's the guy in armor with a mace and a cross on his helmet, so you can guess what class he is. So it's much easier to tell what class they are than some of the more recent versions. But yeah, the artwork in the first module covers was not as good, and they made this picture twice, but it won't focus on it for some reason. There we go. And so here's the other version of the same picture. An advertisement for Holmes Basic, which was a really amazing compilation of D&D that packed so much in so few pages. Some more advertisement. Okay, then we come to the picture that was used for the monster manual. And I think this picture, which looks better on the actual book than it does here. This picture, I think, had a lot to do with the Satanic Panic. I only later learned that this was an Ifrit. To me, it looks like a devil or a demon. And I'm sure that was a big part of the Satanic Panic. And we have this other picture on the back, which I didn't realize until the 21st century that this was all one picture. I thought these were two separate pictures here. So, that aside. And Emiricol the Chaotic. This picture. It took me years to see that little caption there. I didn't even notice it. And recently I've seen where somebody posted a picture of the town in Italy that is the model for it. It looks exactly like this picture. Okay, this picture. Apparently on other editions, other printings, it was labeled A Paladin in Hell. But mine, you couldn't see the print, so I had no idea that's what this was supposed to be. But I could tell it's some sort of fighter. And it's right there next to the paladin book, so here's another great picture from the monster manual. And the unicorn who looks like a unicorn. Okay, so this picture of the Mind Flayer looks like something that Arcana would do. It's not, didn't quite provide the scariness that some of the other pictures of Mind Flayers I've seen. It's kind of a comical one, and here's Otto's Irresistible Dance in action. This is a really fun spell, but it's 8th level, so it hardly ever gets cast. And the problem is that the caster has to roll the hit to use this spell. So this is a great spell for liches to use because they have a decent chance to hit. And they're high enough level to use them. There's some great cartoons in the DM's Guide. And here's the, unfortunately I put the seam in the middle of this picture, but this is a great picture from Deities and Demigods that recently a comedian tricked Fox News into putting it on their TV. And here's a picture from one of the box sets. Because there were, in addition to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, it was regular D&D during the same time. And there's the story about the missing student and the accusation that he was down the tunnels and supposedly was connected to D&D in some way. Okay. So, we get the picture from Deities and Demigods, the whole picture. One of my favorite pictures, but it's shrunk down so you can't see it as well as you can in the book. The back cover, we do get a close-up of one section of it, but I like the Stonehenge being struck by lightning better. I would have liked to have had a big full double-page thing, or better yet, a poster with this on it. Okay, so here's some of the monsters from the monster manual. And the succubus I especially like. It's really, really suggestive without actually showing you what you think it shows you. It's just like the perfect erotic picture for a game, because it doesn't actually show you what you think you saw. There's a picture of a drow doing human sacrifice. Some advertisements. More advertisements. And Greyhawk. I used to have this set, and I thought it was super, super bland. It was like a inferior version of Tolkien's world. And so I didn't use it much and eventually gave it away. But I didn't realize, well, I did know that there were modules that took place in it, but I never bought most of those modules because I couldn't afford them. The modules were just too expensive, so I mostly did homebrew stuff, and I made up my own world instead of using theirs. And I didn't realize how good the Gygax modules would be. Now, there's some pictures of Loth. I don't remember this picture at all, but this one I do remember from these from the GDQ series. This one in particular has the bare-breasted mage there. That's a good one. And then there's some more recent ones of Loth from 2001, 2002. I like the 2002 one. 2008. That one is kind of hard to see her. Okay, and then there's the Caves of Chaos. The Keep on the Borderlands. Here's a sketch of what the cover originally looked like and the final product. And one of the posters I got with this was of this. And here's the map, the Caves of Chaos. And this map is a lot easier to see what you're looking at than any of the ones that actually came with the module. This came with my Homes Basic set. And there's some more module covers. The original versus the revised version. A lot of the revised art was much better. But this one, I think it's a better picture. Even though the quality of the picture is not as good, it better shows you what you're looking at here. Against the Giants. Yeah, there's the village of Hamlet. Which I've never played. Here's a nice big blow up of the picture from the Shrine of the Kowtow. Another blow up from Queen of the Demon Web Pits and Vault of the Drow. And there's TSR's headquarters. Another advertisement. So it's great to see all these old advertisements. There's a lot of them. Okay, the Fiend Folio, which was the Fiend Folio, which to me, the picture does not look as good as the one that's actually on the book. Yeah, so I've gotten a lot of criticism from this because I think this is where TSR, or first edition, jumped the shark. And people think when I say jump the shark, that means it was bad. No, it's like, I remember the episode. I remember seeing the shark. I remember seeing, is Fonzie going to jump the shark or not? And at the end of the episode, he rode on the ski thing, and he was up in the air over the shark, and the episode ended. And it was a season finale, so you had to wait for months to find out what happened. But you knew that the best days of the show were behind it. That it's, after that, Ron Howard left the show, and Fonzie became Flanderized. It was no longer as good. But, yeah, and that was the case with Fiend Folio. There's a bunch of monsters that weren't really needed. And when people defend it, they always name the same few monsters, the Drow, the Githyanki, and a few others. But it's my opinion the Drow should have been limited to the GDQ series. They should not have been put into a book that every DM can get hold of. Much less should they have been put in a book the players can get hold of. So I can't just justify publishing an entire book, especially at the prices we paid back then, just to have a few monsters. One of my friends took one look at this book and said, "This is crap, I can make better monsters than this," and he never bought another D&D book until the 21st century. He made up his own world, he made up his own monsters, and he turned out to be the best DM ever. Okay, more pictures. Here's some of the box sets. The Cook Moldave box sets, which my expert set came with the Isle of Dread. More advertisements. And I remember these little cartoons would show up in comic books to advertise. And there was like a continuing story. I never did find out how the story ended, even though I bought comics the whole time they were doing that. Yeah, there's a bit about miniatures, which we never played with miniatures when I was playing first edition. I never played with miniatures, with the rare exceptions where when the fight was too complicated, I might use miniatures or dice or something to mark where the players were. But I didn't use miniatures until second edition when I met somebody who had hundreds of them. And he wanted to use his miniatures. Some more art, more advertisements, and there was a video game. Yeah, and then bad, but the satanic panic began. Associating the game and Dark Dungeons, the chick track about this. I remember with my own ears and my own eyes seeing Pat Robertson say that he saw a child who was possessed by the demons of Dungeons and Dragons. So Pat Robertson says the creatures in the monster manual are real. That if some of them are real, then they all have to be real. So that means that he thinks there's mind flayers living deep beneath the earth and orcs and goblins. You can't have it both ways. Either some of them are real or none of them are, either all of them are real or none of them are real. And yeah, here's a scene from E.T. when they were playing D&D.